This is Paige with Paige & Company Flowers here in Weston, Mississippi. This is my seed hut, and today I'm going to take you on a tour of it. I'll just show you kind of what I'm growing right now, what's coming up. I'm probably a little bit later than I should have been getting some things started, but it's going to be okay. So we are zone here actually my address is zone 8A, but zone 8B kind of creeps up around us, so I consider being on the cusp of both of those. Now, if you are interested in what zone you're in, as far as planting, you really ought to look up your last frost date. That will give you a better idea of when things should go in the ground, because we all know around here we always have that Easter cold snap, and it can sneak up on you and kind of get you. So don't plant too early, plant a little later. Have some patience. Last year I planted too early, and I spent a lot of time covering things, lost a lot of tomatoes, had to reseed tomatoes, and I learned my lesson on patience, and that's probably one reason I'm a little behind this year, because I didn't want to do things too early. But anyway, I digress. So my plan with these videos is going to be to try to get one out once a week at least. This past week I didn't get to one because we're going in 30 directions. We had some stuff to do in Starkville with Emma, and then this weekend I took the girls to Pensacola for Pensacon, because we some nerds up in this house, and we got to do some fun stuff, and they got to see some cool celebrities and get some autographs. And the fish house there does like the whole Harry Potter themed dining room, and I'll put a couple pictures of that in the video. But y'all know we some Harry Potter nerds up in this house too, so it was fun. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what I'm growing right now. So I've got all my tomatoes started and all of my peppers started, so anything from sweet to mild to hot are behind me. And then I've got some flowers started. I'm gonna do a lot of direct sowing with zinnias and cosmos and things this year, because I had pretty good luck last year doing that. But I have some varieties that didn't direct sow well for me last year, and so I'm starting them as seedlings, and so far so good. I've actually got some coming up. But some of the varieties of tomatoes I'm doing are Amish paste, black creme, mortgage lifter, steak sandwich, green grape. There's a black prince, sunrise bumblebee, which is one of my favorites from last year. I call it Weishi. Maybe it's Weish, I'm not sure, but I'm doing that one again this year. I've also got one called Madame Marmaid, a steak sandwich, because I will eat a tomato sandwich every day during the summer when I've got fresh tomatoes. There's another one called like a bush steak and a super steak. So last year I did nothing but heirloom tomatoes, because you get on these fancy schmancy websites, and they're so beautiful, and they're all different colors, and all that jazz. Anyway, the like grape tomatoes that I did just flourished. My bigger varieties were they didn't flourish as much, or I didn't get as much off of them as I thought I should. So I was talking to a guy at Hutto's, and he just said, well, sometimes heirlooms just don't produce as much. Just that's the nature of an heirloom. So I'm wondering too if I didn't fertilize enough, but I'm going back to some of my heirloom varieties that I tried last year, but I'm also sneaking in some hybrids, because they usually will produce more, which people have this whole thing about hybrids in this, but I'm not a snob either way. So I will plant what grows and eat what grows. And if you didn't know, in the United States, it's illegal to sell to consumers any seed that has been processed GMO. So you never have, it's a big tagline on seed companies that they put that this is a non-GMO seed, but they can't sell them to you. So it's just a marketing ploy, honestly. So you never have to really worry about, these seed companies selling you anything that you don't want to use, or that the big companies use, like the big food growers use. So anyway, so I'm also got some basil back here. I've got lemon, lime, Genovese, cardinal, dark purple opal, sweet Thai, and the Thai actually has kind of a licorice smell and flavor to it, anise. I don't really love licorice, but I do. It's a very pretty plant to grow, and so I'll use these as an herb for cooking, of course, and then I'll also use them for their flowers because they really do produce beautiful flowers, and you can put those in cut flower arrangements. So as far as some other herbs, I'm doing dill and sage, and I've got lemon balm, tarragon, chamomile, catnip. Well, that's not for me, that's for my cats. I'm also doing some chives, and I've got some celery going. Now, I will not, last year I planted squash and zucchini fairly early, like with everything else. This year I'm going to wait it out and plant them a little later in the season, because you get these little bugs. You can get vine borers that will take them out, but you can also get these little bugs called squash beetles, and they are a son of a gun. And you really almost have to just hand pick them off and be very diligent daily. So I'm going to try to plant them later in an attempt to avoid those little suckers, because they'll get you good. Now, I'm also going to plant some lettuce in here probably this week. And my lettuce did really well, and my kale did really well last year. Let's see what else. Oh, so peppers, I've got like cayennes and scotch bonnets. I've got a death spiral, apocalypse scorpion. I've got my ghost peppers again. I've got 3 varieties of ghost peppers. I have a chocolate 7-pot pepper. So my Scoville rating, like for my bell peppers, is like almost nil. But then you go all the way up to like 2 million on the Scoville rating. And those are fun for hot sauces and stuff. And I'll be honest, I've never actually tasted one and probably won't. I have had them in the hot sauces, but that's about as far as I'm going to go. Because I don't want to feel like I'm dying. You won't die, but I don't want to feel like I am. I've already planted onions and garlic, and those are doing really well right now. And I've planted some kale. I did plant some beets to see how they would do right this time of year. And then I planted some cauliflower and something else. Oh, my sweet peas. So I planted Lillians and King Tut Purple. King Tut Purple is really cool, and Lillians is kind of sentimental. But, so that's what I've got going on right now. Oh, and I'll also direct, so once the frost date has passed, cucumbers and beans and a couple other things, okra, that you can just stick in the ground and they'll come right up, that you don't have to baby like some of the ones behind us. And really the only reason that you plant or seed tomatoes and peppers early and not direct sow them is so that you get a head start on the season. So if I go out and plant a tomato as soon as the frost clears, it's going to take 6 weeks to get to where it needs to be, or if not, growing wise. But if I go ahead and start them here, they've already got a 6-week head start, and I'll get tomatoes sooner. And I just saw Felder Rushing actually said that what you should do also is have 2 seasons of tomatoes, because that's just how lucky we are down here with our weather. You can actually start tomatoes in the spring and have a run, and then pull those up and plant more and have another run into the fall. So I'm excited. We're going to see. I may do 2 plantings this year, see how many tomatoes I can get out of it. But y'all are probably really tired of hearing me talk now, because I've been doing it for 10 minutes. Goodness, time flies when you're having fun. Anyway, let me, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of the seed hut and see what we've got. All right, guys. So this is my desk area. This is where I sit and plan and go through seed packets. And sometimes I'll even do some seeding in this area. And you can see that was my setup. I had everything pretty much stacked on top of each other to hold my phone. Okay, so this is my area where I do all the dirt work, so to speak, or soil work. This I got at Hutto's. It's their growing mix for seed starting. And you can see I've got some other things down below, like peat moss and vermiculite, and I've got earthworm castings. And then on that other shelf is my cells and cups that I used last year. Now I'm going to have to clean all of that. I haven't done it yet, because you don't want to reuse cups that were used last year because of disease and things like that you might give your plants. Anyway, also this piece of furniture right here was the top of an old armoire. So it's actually worked out perfectly, and it's a great height, and I can add shelves to it if I need to. So use what you got, repurpose things. But this is actually the soil mix that I'm using from Hutto's, and then those are soil block makers. So what those do, allow you not to use actual plastic cells and things like that. And they also, I have to learn a little bit more about this, but it air prunes your seedlings. That way the roots grow out, and once they hit air, they stop growing. So unlike a cup where you might get root bound roots where they wrap around and around and around, but once they hit the air, they stop growing. I don't know why. Like I said, something else I've got to look into. But that's my calendar that I write on that tells me when I need to do things and when I've done things. Oop, and there is one of those little dumb Asian beetles that we're gonna put into my little Asian beetle trap because they are turds. And then okay, and this is just shelf. It's got some buckets and things, and then some where I keep some watering cans and some extra seeds and some tubers, and then more baskets and stuff. A lot of that will be for when I go to farmers markets and stuff. Okay, so that is you're excited about some cardboard, I hope, but that will be my no-till flower beds that I plan on doing. And then this is a rack, and it's got lights set up, but I don't need it yet because I haven't planted that much. But once I start up planting things, which that means once a seedling's gotten so big and kind of outgrows its current cell, you move it to a bigger pot. And so once I start doing that, I will employ those shelves and lights. And these were my little sunflowers and zinnias, and then the little baby one right there is a marigold that I seed saved from last year, and I was trying to see how well they would do, and so far so good. Now these are some of my cell blocks, and these are the small versions. And you can see I've already got several coming up. There's yarrow here, euphorbia, and snapdragons. And then I planted some more yarrow over here, and just a few days ago. Yep, and you can see, I don't know if I get close enough, but there's some little baby ones coming up there too. So once these get big enough, I'll make the bigger soil blocks and actually add these to the top of them. You just sit them right in there, and then they'll start taking over that bigger soil block. And of course, these are just cafeteria trays I bought off Amazon to hold them in because they do fairly well that way. And then over here, these are still some of my super hot peppers. They need a lot of humidity and heat to get going. And some of them have already started coming up, which is exciting. And so probably in the next couple of days, I'll remove that humidity dome from there. Kind of like these. These are my kind of mid-range peppers. I think that's all that's on here. Yeah. So these are like cayennes and Tabasco and all that stuff. And then down here are some of my bell peppers, banana peppers, things that don't have a lot of heat, and some tomatoes over there. So you probably recognize some of those names. Okay, over here are a lot of my herbs and things that I was growing, and you can see my dill has really taken off. I'm afraid it's getting a little leggy, so I'm going to move it under its own light here pretty shortly, just so I can help curb some of that. And so what I mean by that is you can see actually how low these lights are to the actual cells and the seedlings. And you do that in order that they don't grow too fast and they don't reach for the light and get leggy, so you're not using them, or they just get to where they won't produce as well if they're too leggy. So these are all looking really nice right now. So here are some more basil coming up. Look how cute they are. This is lemon, lime, Thai, and sweet. For some reason, I have a hard time with lemon basil. I've only got one sprouted so far, but let's hope that something else comes up. But my lime is doing pretty good, and so is everything else. Oh, and look, how funny. It looks like I accidentally got a tomato seedling in with that basil. It happens. I have no idea which one it will be either. Now, the fun thing about some of these on this side, I got from a lady in like Minnesota, and they're probably like 10 years old. Some of the seeds, but they're still sprouting. Not all of them so far, but most of them, and I'm okay with that. So now we're going to go up one, and these are some more basil. And you can see that they're starting to come up too. And here are some zinnias and marigolds coming up. And these are the ones that I couldn't even get to sprout direct sowing last year. So it makes me very excited to see these babies coming up. All right, so that was the little tour. I mean, it's not very big, but it is actually a nice space for what I'm doing. So today I'm going to start some dahlia seeds and some other flowers. And to give you an idea of what I am growing this year, it's going to be like zinnias and cosmos and marigolds, and then amaranth and foxgloves. And I've got celosia, bells of Ireland, baby's breath, but not like the little bitty baby's breath. It's a little bigger white flower. It's called Covent Garden, which I'm really excited about. We're going to do snapdragons. I've got straw flowers, cone flowers, things like that. But I also have phlox, and the particular one I'm doing is called Flocks of Sheep, which I love a good pun, and I thought it was adorable, so that's why I got it. Anyway, so thank you for coming along on this journey, and can't wait to talk to y'all next time. So go out and grow your happiness.